This is Calvin Castine. It's April 28th, 2002. We'll let the record show that is snow out there. It was raining and a little bit of sleet. Now it's starting to snow on this 28th day of April 2002. We're high and dry and warm inside the Mooers Fire Station attached to the town hall here in Mooers. And everybody is pulling in to honor this young fellow on the left here, being greeted by family members. Mr. Rene Rabideau, a 50-year veteran of the Mooers Fire Department. Apparently, Rene has done more over the years than flip pancakes at the annual open house next door at Jack Dragoons and attend ball games. Rene has been a leader here in the Mooers Fire Department service, EMS service, for 50 years now, going back to 1952. And just a few of his friends and fellow fighters and firefighters and rescue workers are here to pay tribute to him on this blustery Sunday afternoon, April 2002. This tape will be more than just something that we'll show on hometown cable. It'll be something we'll pass along to Rene and Marcella so that they can keep it as a keepsake, and something to remember the day. Whenever we're invited to a function like this, we always like to pass along the copy of the tape with our compliments to the person being honored. And we're actually going to be doing two such programs in the next, today and less than a week from now, we'll be doing another one honoring Red Wilder in Rouse's Point. And when the fire departments call us, we never say no unless there's an absolutely positively good reason why we can't be there. At Hometown Cable, we figure fire departments, rescue squads, veterans organizations, church groups, churches. If we can't support them, then we don't belong. We don't belong here providing programming in the community. So we never, can't say never, because sometimes circumstances just make it impossible. But we try never to say no to those organizations. Looking ahead on the program, there will be speakers coming up shortly as you're watching this. We've got a bit of a wait as we're taping this, but coming up as you're watching this, speakers will be with us shortly. You can get your picture taken with the guest of honor for a $3 fee. Mooers Fire Department has put up this bulletin board in memory of the fallen firefighters and rescue personnel from September 11th, 2001. And we've got all their photos here on the wall. The special souvenir program has been printed. We'll just show you what's going to be coming up. The Fire Department President Bruce Sample, then Town Supervisor Jack Dragoon, Auxiliary President Sheila Drown, EMS Captain Lola Miller, Clinton County Emergency Services Director Jim King, and Mooers Fire Chief Chris Boris. And the plaque will be presented to Rene Rabideau later in today's program. Picture some of the, try to get them in focus here. So the man of honor right there in the middle. About 12 years ago, this is a 38-year veteran, which would make it about 12 years ago. Randy was the Clinton County Fireman of the Year, and the article written by Steve Manor, who's from the Press Republican. Randy was a youngster. That's what he looked like the year I was born. Wouldn't have recognized him. And here he is as a 16-year-old. A rose between two thorns. There as Randy gets his picture taken between Jim King and George Rivers. Fortin from Hemingford talking to Champlain's Chris Tremblay. Many neighboring departments are represented here. And we're bringing out more chairs. Near capacity. Departments from neighboring areas are represented here today.
I'd like to have everybody stand for the pledge and take your place.
Everyone please remove their headgear. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Call on Father.
It's interesting how different we view the Pledge of Allegiance these days after all the things that have happened, how much more important it is. And it's really, our flag's an important symbol and our country is an important place, and we have to think of that often. God our Father, we thank you for this occasion today to celebrate someone who is not only a faith-filled man, not only a good man, a community-minded man, a man who has spent 50 years of his life, many times 24 hours a day, serving the sick, the injured, those who need help in emergency situations. Been a great asset to our community, and we ask you today to bring many more blessings upon him, upon his wife, Marcella. We give thanks for all of these things that he does, and all the things that our fire department, EMS, all of those groups do for our community in serving us and helping us in so many ways. We call your blessing upon us all today as we look at these beautiful actions and these beautiful people. Amen.
I want to welcome everybody on behalf of the fire department for coming out in this pleasant weather for the worthwhile location honoring Randy. And I want to thank Jim King for coming out and time out of his busy schedule to be with us today. We have a little change in the schedule. Jim has to get another function later this afternoon at 4 o'clock. So we're going to move Jim up as our guest speaker right now. Is that right, Jim?
Whatever you wish to do.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Bruce. It's certainly a pleasure for Mary and I to be here this afternoon, Randy. I've known you for many, many years. I've been a fire coordinator here in this county for the last 20-plus years. And it's been such a superb pleasure to work with you and your people in the Mooers Fire Department. I got a couple functions here, so if you might come out, my friend. I got a green jacket on today. It's not because I won the Masters, I'll tell you that. I represent the New York City Association of Fire Chiefs, and this afternoon from the association, we'd like to present Chief Rabideau. Once you're a chief, you're always a chief. With a plaque on behalf of the New York City Association of Fire Chiefs. It says, New York City Association of Fire Chiefs, congratulations to Rene Rabideau on 50 years of service as a member of the Mooers Volunteer Fire Department of Clinton County, New York, presented on this 28th day of April 2002, signed by our President Walter Shoemaker and our Executive Director Tony Chickrenito. Chief. That small token of our appreciation is far from what Randy has done for your community, but also for the county. And as I said a few seconds ago, we've been to many fires together, many emergencies together. He's always calm, cool, and collected. I always knew where he was. Drove the engines to the fire. I could always find him. I knew he was on that piece of apparatus. And he has such a dedication. His people, I want to say firefighters. We don't use the term men anymore. We have ladies today that help us a great deal, and without that help, we couldn't do our job. They always followed Randy. Randy intuitively knew what to do, and they knew that he knew what to do and followed his direction. But as important, his love of his family, certainly of his wife, and of his faith, is a tribute to him as a person. So, Chief, congratulations.
Thank you, Jim. I failed to mention Jim's title. I'm sure you've all heard about him. Just recently there was the earthquake.
You've been called out.
Such is life.
Clinton County Emergency Services Director. I'm sure you've all heard about him. Next on the agenda, the Supervisor Jack Jargoon.
A little black book here on Rainy. Notes? First of all, I'd like to welcome everybody here. And especially occasion, and especially for Rainy, 50 years of fire service and being an overall outstanding citizen of Mooers. At this time, I'd like to discuss some good parts of Rainy and some not so good. I've been involved in Rainy for 47 years in the department. And could go on for hours, but I'll only mention a few because I'm sure there's more to follow. At the top of the list, Jim happened to mention Rainy's driving and operating of the pump. I happened to be driving on the back end from Woods Falls, heading for Route 11. Of course, you're supposed to stop at Route 11, but we didn't. Went right by it. He blamed it on to no brakes. Remember that, Randy? I remember. Second was being on fire. We had George Huff up in Cannon's Way. I was on the ladder. Probably hard, some of you are to believe. Anyway, First time.
I was trying to put the fire out. Randy had the tendency on that old 252 zoom, 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 always giving it the gas. I said, Randy, cut it out. But Randy didn't. Guess what happened? He got the hose. Remember that too, Randy?
way back then. And he was the only fireman bowler I know. As a team, I'm sure there's some of the bowlers that are here tonight. He would miss a spare by probably 2 feet. And he would come back laughing. And I know Orville remembers this. We used to have a fireman's softball team, which was pretty good team. Randy was a catcher and I was a pitcher. And he was a little hard of hearing even back then, Marcel. I would holler for the ball. Randy would keep right on coming. And guess who would end up on the ground? With his hat twisted. Is that right, Orville? Now, another thing. Randy's involved in very many things, as you all know. But here, just a week ago, I'm going through this little black book. I'm coming down through the pages. Of course, his brother used to work for my father and quite a few others. And behold, here's Rene Rabideau's name on it. 1957, this page was, and he worked a few days before that. Working for $1 an hour. I told somebody that, and they asked me, was he worth that? He's got plumbing and shop work. He says, Floyd, I'm sending you a resignation. I find your work too easy for my capability. I'm now heading for the government for a job. That was the comment there. And there's still a few firemen here. We went, Elk Rose got shot in the arm. We went, he volunteered. First, Randy, as you know, volunteers for everything. Got 5 of us, I think it was, going down to give blood. So we give blood. We get on the elevator to come down. We all get in the elevator. I have to look at Rene. Rene, we caught him anyway before he hit the bottom. So anyway, here's the 5 of us. I guess none of us really knew what to do. We were waiting for the elevator to stop. We waited and waited and it didn't stop. Happened to be the door open, and we hadn't left the floor until we got in on it. We came to Rene's rescue. So we forgot to push, apparently the elevator button didn't get pushed. Rene has been a hang of a big asset to our town in many ways. After we got our ballpark going, Richard was in charge. Got all of Rene to be our caretaker. Rene did an outstanding job before retiring a few years ago. And he did one outstanding job. Everybody can vouch for that. Also, Frank needed somebody to be a custodian in the Republican Party. Who do you think he would ask? Rene got the job of being a custodian, that's over the voting machine. Then, a while back, Dick needed somebody to operate our roller. He was a blacktop, and he couldn't find somebody one day. Who do you think they got? Rene. Of course, after you know, Rene liked any kind of wheels.
Fast wheels.
Fast wheels. After our senior housing was built, Rene was on the committee when we were developing, getting it organized. So Rene resigned as a board member to be another head of a job as a custodian. So I guess he likes to look after elderly ladies too. So he has that job and still has it. Got another one. I don't know how this one will come over, but anyway. Frank and Ella always goes on a trip once a year. So they always ask Rene and Marcel. And Frank wants Rene to help do the driving, so he can take some of the heat off of Frank. He doesn't have to listen to all the driving complaints. Rene can listen to some. Well, that's what Frank told me. And Rene is also every year volunteers for mixing pancakes, helping out across the road in our open house, which we have every year. And some of the boys said Rene, after a couple more years, he's been mixing, so maybe he'll be old enough to get up on the grills. But in closing, Rene, I hope you have many more enjoyable years, you and Marcel and your family. And you've done an outstanding job for our community.
There's still some chairs down the front here, if anybody's looking for some seats, just invite you over here. Help yourselves. Next on the agenda will be the auxiliary president, Sheila Brown.
I was asked to do the fun job. Those are the kind of jobs I like to do. They asked if I would write a poem about Rene. I said, yes, I'd be glad to do that, but I need some information. Either Rene has been very good for 50 years, or Rene has bribed everyone to be very quiet. Because I didn't get a lot of information. But this is what I got, Rene, and this is for you. Perhaps when Rene was a boy, a fire truck was his favorite toy. On bended knees, by roads of sand, he pushed that truck with tiny hands. Time flew by, soon he was grown, had a wife and a family of his own. He knew he wanted to volunteer to help out people far and near. Thought the firehouse was a place to start, since helping out was near his heart. He asked if they would let him in, so helping out neighbors could begin. They let him join in '52, but they didn't know what he put them through. And many a tale about him I've heard, some of which are told in this verse. Now, most of the stories that seem to last tell of his driving a little too fast. Guess he must like to take the lead by driving fire trucks at full speed. There was one cold and icy night, our truck to St. Mary's Church took flight. Rene's foot was made of lead. Sideways down St. Mary's Hill they slid. Another incident I've been told about, while backing our second ambulance out slightly fast, the door not quite up, he took the air conditioner off its top. Once after a fire, refilling the tank, with Larry Dumas right at his flank, thought there was smoke at Ed Buller's farm. Larry jumped on the back, Rene drove with alarm. Now everyone knows about the dogs Eddie keeps. They're not very friendly, to say the least. And Rene, not thinking, pulled up in the yard. On back, Larry started spraying really hard. A big, ugly dog with a chain slightly longer, with a look in his eye. Was it hatred or hunger? Headed for Larry. Wasn't that some luck? Larry hollered and leapt to the top of the truck. What a performance, this event that was brewing. But what about Rene? What was he doing? He was lighting a stogie while all this was happening, safe in the front seat, sitting there laughing. At fire scenes, the pumper he often ran, but at times he got a little out of hand. With too much pressure, kidding around, he lifted Leon Menard clear off the ground. Another time, this hurrying fellow drove our old fire truck painted yellow out of the station, his foot to the floor, once again too fast, took along the door. Years ago, he rang the firehouse siren, calling in all his fellow firemen. Now, ringing for fires, that was the rule, but all he wanted was help filling a pool. I think there were some angry firemen that day, I'm not sure. Down the Bowes Road, going to a fire, he never ever looked in his mirror. A big roll of hose fell off on the load, unrolling its whole length down the road. It's hard to fight fire without all the hose, so back up the Bowes Road he quickly drove, slammed on the brakes, jumped out of the truck, and started rolling until he had picked it all up. The stories go on, as you can now see. He's quite a driver, I think you'll agree. Tell me why, because in my mind this is somewhat hazy. He's always saying that Leonard drives crazy. There are a few other things you should know before any honor on Rene we bestow. He's worked a lot and he's been around doing some other things in this town. One year there was a softball league made up of all firemen's teams. Rene wanted to play on that, you can bet, and decided he definitely wanted to catch. Jack was pitching, a pop fly was hit, and both ran to catch it in their mitts. Belly to belly, the two of them met. I wish I had that on video cassette. It seems he seldom sits and rides. Fire trucks are not all he likes to drive. There's cars and pickups and ambulances too, bicycles, lawnmowers, and oh yes, skidoos. Once in a while, he actually gets bored. On one such day, thought he'd drive something more. Couldn't find a dozer or front-end loader, but was seen paving roads, driving a roller. There's a number of names which he has had: Pop, Rene, Rene, and Granddad. There's a couple of others by which he's been known, like Dirty Old Man and Old Chrome Dome. Whatever he's asked to do, you can be sure he'll see it through. Be it at the senior housing or here he's at, or flipping pancakes over at Jack's. On Labor Day, he's on garbage detail, or sweeping floors, or carrying a pail. We all can attest he knows how to mop, for he's been seen around here mopping a lot. Of all the members this department has known, he's the first one to reach this milestone. There's no doubt this honor Rene deserves, for he's been actively involved for 50 years. From toys in the sand to trucks big and red, now that all this foolishness has been said, your friends and community say a big thank you for all you've done and all you still do. On behalf of the auxiliary, we congratulate you and thank you for all you do.
Next, we have our EMS captain, Lola Miller. She's going to do the training too, yes.
What training?
That bad?
Oh, no, actually,
Works.
it's worse than that. Here we are saying nice things about Rene. What do you think of that, Rene? There's always a first, right? A golden celebration of any event is very special. But Rene's 50th anniversary in the volunteer fire and EMS service to this community is commendable. Even after 50 years, he's still very active. Rene is the perfect example of all the qualities needed to accomplish the tasks and challenges of emergency services. Dedication, commitment, selflessness, perseverance, and the strongest emotion of caring. Rene's caring goes well beyond that of loving his family. He cares deeply for his community and the people that live in it. He is also recognized as a figure of a professional volunteer throughout the region. As a member of this department, Rene's concern for his fellow members is always evident, especially after a large fire or a serious incident. Rene has a keen sense of direction, but I do remember several times when our en route to scene time was lengthened when we went to the wrong address. We believe that this may be due to the fact that there have been many roads added to the town since 1952. We're not quite sure. As fire chief in the mid-1980s, Rainey's open-mindedness and leadership assisted in the establishment of what is now Mooers EMS. Rainey, on behalf of all of us, I want to commend you and thank you for all your past and future years of helping and caring for your community.
Just a note on Jim King that he left, wasn't really running out on us. He thought he was going to Keysville to present an award to a good friend of his. And the award is going to Jim King. His wife wanted to get him down there, and that's why he had to leave. Next, we have Fire Chief Chris Mooers.
Hard to believe it. I'd like to welcome everybody here, and good to see our local departments, neighboring departments here. We got Chief from Champlain, Chris Trombley, Chief from Shazy, Mike Cahoon, another fire department, Hemingford's here, well represented. Thanks for coming. What Rainey has accomplished is very rare in the fire service. 50 years of volunteering is hard to imagine. Rene has not just been a member for 50 years, but he has played a large part in our success. When I first joined 16 years ago, he was chief. He told me back then that there were 3 types of volunteers: those who make things happen, those who watch things happen, and those who wondered what happened. Rene has made many things happen throughout the years. Everyone who has worked with him and served under him knows that when he commits to a project, he sees it through to the finish. Rene served as chief from 1978 to 89, the longest term held by anyone in our department. I don't know how he did it for so long, Rene. As anyone who has held a position as chief, you always set goals you want to accomplish. I think Rene has probably met every goal he has ever set forth. While serving as chief, a new station was built at this location. A second was manned and equipped in Candy's Corners. Our first ambulance was purchased and put into service for transport, and he chaired the committee to purchase the new pumper in 91. Congratulations to Rene on your 50 years of service to our department and your community. We hope you have many more years to come. Thanks.
Chris is mentioning neighboring departments here. We have one of the street people, Rene, Albert Morelli, and Ethan Fortan. 150 years of service. The street people. I think we should all around. Sure we have, but it said, 50 years of service, the Mooers Volunteer Fire Department. Looking around the crowd, I see a lot of middle-aged people out there, and I'm sure they'd all agree that this could really read 50 years of community service. Time Rene has spent, and I guess I'm referring to a lot of these people out here that he coached. The time he spent with youth was unbelievable. I get it. All 50 years in the fire department. I remember, as long as I can remember, if you went down Hemingford Road, you see Rene over there working with the coaches or yourself, working with the youth, and the hours he spent in there was unbelievable. And he's the first 50-year member that we in Mooers have had. what an honor for somebody, you know, to put that much time in and can be the first one. Hopefully many will follow. Behind every good man is usually a good woman, I claim. I think we'd be remiss if we didn't mention Marcella, his wife. I think Rene had maybe 50 years, in parts he had maybe like 40,000 calls, maybe more. You imagine the meals that was put on hold? Had her rewarmed. And although I don't think Rene mentioned or missed too many, eventually got he got in all meals in eventually sometime. So it's a great honor that we could honor Rene this afternoon, and such a great turnout. It looks like it's really bad out there for the snow, but just thank everybody for coming out in this weather. Appreciate it. It shows great companionship, community, togetherness for Rene. We thank you for that. This time, Chris, our assistant, we have a plaque we'd like to present.
Don't be ready.
Fire Department,
Reads, presented to Rene Rabideau for 50 years of outstanding and dedicated service to the Mooers Volunteer Fire Department.
There you go. Perfect. Here we go.
Anybody got anything they'd like to put back on Rene? Oh, we'll ask Rene then, but any words for us?
A couple of comments, I guess.
That's not the program.
I want to start in that I'm not a talker, I'm a doer. I'm going to go back to Jack's comment way back 47 years ago. Probably about that time, that's Altona. This cat was here from Altona. We had town hall in Vernon. Only Jack and I went out. We set the pumping water out of a 1,000-gallon truck. We should have had 100,000 gallons of water, but we didn't have it. Way back then, we didn't have the equipment you have today. We had rubber coats, and we had T-shirts on. When we come to take the coats off, skin them off with the rubber coats. That's one of the deals that the present firemen today don't realize how we suffered back 30, 40, 50 years. I want to thank everyone for coming. Thank you. The officers, thank you.
Back then, we didn't have the best equipment. I assure you, we were on the end of the hose, ready to run the pumper, you had a lot of pressure. So at this time, I think we'll ask Rene Marcel to come up. We'll cut the cake, and we thank you again all for coming. Hopefully you'll stick around, we'll reminiscing, have some cake. Thank you.
felt like losing that on a morning, that
Can I have everybody's attention? We'll get things started here. I'd like to welcome everybody to the annual Firemen's Rouse's Point Fire Department banquet. I'm Dennis Roberts, and I'll be your MC tonight. And everybody would rise and we'll say the pledge of allegiance.
Yes, he does.
I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Seeing that Mr. King is here, I think it's appropriate that I point out the fire exits. As you see, there's 2 exits here. If you follow the exit signs, one goes to the left, one goes to the right. Some of you guys need to stay out of the bar. I say that every year. Just want to keep you guys on your toes. At this time, I'd like to introduce our head table and our guests. First off, over here is our Chief, Walt Laramie. Our first assistant chief is Bruce Saya, his wife Joan. Second assistant chief, Junior Moore, and his wife Nina. County legislator, Ms. Celine Paquette. Invited guests, Tammy and Luke Fassett. And to my left, we have President Al Nautel and his wife Mary. My lovely wife Donna. We got committee member Dewey Gordon and his wife Kathy. And county coordinator Mr. Jim King and his wife Mary. I'd also like to recognize our current officers, Captain Mike LeBlanc, who is not here this evening. Our first lieutenant is Jason Juneau. Our second lieutenant is Bob Marks. And our captain of fire police is Red Wilder. Lieutenant of Fire Police, Mr. George Rivers. Captain of Rescue, George Cookman. Lieutenant of Rescue, Paula Filion. Treasurer, Bruce Sand. Secretary, Dennis Roberts. And our executive committee members are Jim Seguin, Don Diesel, and Gerald Robert. Our warden, Ben Arnold, is out there somewhere. Benny. And our house committee, Don Diesel, Chuck LePayan, and Mike LeBlanc. Our chaplain again this year is Leo Letourneau. And our assistant chaplain is George Cookman. I'd also like to introduce the village board members, Mayor George Rivers and his wife Peg. Trustee Kelly Penfield. Trustee John Huckrow. And Red likes this when I mention his name, Vice President Red Wilder and his wife Polly. And we also have Ms. Ruth Letourneau here. Yes, Red, you can go home. He always gives me a hard time.
See you in another 2 years.
At this time, I'd like to ask all of our exempt firefighters to please stand and be recognized. Please stand, guys. I say this every year, and I gotta repeat myself. These are the guys who made our department what it is today. I'll tell you, these guys used to take a week's vacation off to work our 4th of July for those younger folks. I swear to God, these guys used to take a week's vacation. They busted their butt and put what's in our department that's in there. So thank you guys. I'd also like to ask our honorary members to please stand and be recognized. I know there's some out there. And last but not least, I would like all our auxiliary members to please stand and be recognized. I just want to say to the auxiliary that words cannot express our deep gratitude for you ladies. You guys do an outstanding job, whether it be a fire, our fundraiser, our activities. You ladies just outdo yourselves each and every time, so thank you very much. I am looking for our chaplain, Mr. George Cookman.
Before I say the opening prayer, I would like to take a moment of silence for all our deceased members in the Rouse's Point Fire Department who's gone on before us. Amen. Also, keep in mind of all firefighters and EMS personnel who over the past year have passed away. Lord, bless us for gathering here today for another Rouse's Point Fire Department Awards banquet. Also bless those who cannot be with us here this evening. Give us the strength and wisdom to continue to serve the people of our village and community. Keep us from harm's way. God bless the food we're about to receive, and it may give us strength to continue doing our duty as we see fit. Amen. Now, let's eat.
First, when you're the MC, you cannot drink. All right, folks, here we go. The first person that I'd like to ask up here for some words is the president of the auxiliary, Cecilia Robert. She has some awards for you guys. Every year before the banquet, my mom always says, "Will you stay up there with me? Will you stay up there with me and hold my hand?" Well, you know how you always used to tell me it's time to go out on your own? You're on your own.
Thank you for inviting us here at Fire Department. We're here because of you guys. What do I say? I'm just happy to be here, and I'm happy that I'm still president. I have a good team behind me. I'd like to introduce my officers. Would you please stand as I name you? Wanda Gamache, Vice President. Cindy Roberts, Secretary. Mary LaValle is Treasurer. Tim LaPan is Chaplain. Mary and Cindy have been Treasurer and Secretary for quite a while, and we sure depend on these two girls to back us up. So keep up the good work, girls. Now with the rest of my auxiliary stand, so I can just say thank you to all of you. I know you stood earlier, but please stand so I can say thank you. Without them, I'm nothing. I'd like to thank all these firemen for all the help they give us for our 4th of July. Because without them putting up our booth, we sure couldn't have a booth. We need their muscle. And they help us different ways. I mean, we help them, but they help us too. So thank you very much, guys. And Red, congratulations on the 50 years. Before I go any further, I'd like to have a moment of silence for all our deceased members, and we lost 2 super women the past year. Just like to have a moment of silence for them, please. Thank you. I'm sure those girls would like to be here. Okay. Our biggest chore in the past year really was our 4th of July thing, because thank God up above we had no big fires, as far as I can recall. So we didn't work too hard this year. Girls were pretty lucky. So if I could get Wanda up here to help me to give a couple pins here or whatever.
I wore that when I had to, not because I wanted
Our first pin will be for Tammy Sample for 5 years in the auxiliary. Tammy, could you come and get the pin, please?
I think this is better than the roll on it.
Yeah, we don't know what you're talking about.
Wanda said she'd put it on, but she prefer you do your own. Thank you, Tammy. Our second pin is for Kim LePan. Kim kind of got one last year, but it was a mistake. It was supposed to be for Cindy Robert. So Cindy lucks out. She don't have to come up here. Thank you, Kim. Okay, I forgot a bag in my purse, but that's all right. Without Dennis on the side of me, I kind of get forgetful. Oh, are you done? I'd like to call up Sally Smith and Margaret Peg Rivers, please. We're very proud of these 2 girls. We're proud of all our girls, but they've reached the 40-year mark, and I think they need a round of applause.
She lied to me. I didn't think she was that old.
She's not old. She's been here since she was a year old.
Peg her, Sally.
Congratulations, Peg. Oh, you don't just get a pin, girl. And this is your award. Hopefully you enjoy it. Thank you so much, Peg. Sally, this is also for you. It's a neck chain, and you should receive a neck chain. And here's your 40-year pin. And their frame has a picture of the auxiliary girls, of course. Congratulations, and thank you so much. We couldn't do it without you. These are been the backbone of us, I'll say like Dennis. Without these girls, it wouldn't be anything. Sally.
Kind of embedded in your mind.
Thank you girls for being on the team, and thank you everyone for listening to me.
You did a good job on your first few steps.
That was a big surprise. I thought it was a men's night. I didn't think it was a ladies' night too.
All right, our next speaker is our captain of rescue, Mr. George Cookman. He's going to have to say a few words here.
You won't even let me finish eating. To me, that's quite a bit of
Yes, sir, first.
problem.
Got a couple of potatoes?
Normally at this time, we give out awards to members who answer the most calls. But this year, that all members of the fire department are part of the EMS system, and everybody answers calls all hours of days, nights, and evenings. So we want to congratulate all of you for doing an outstanding job on the ambulance service this year. We had over 300 calls, and luckily we had one little incident the other week there. We have to have a little driver's training. We don't know how to make a call. Otherwise, we do pretty well. And again, I'd like to thank, and also, since Brad's got 50 years in, he says his eyes are bothering him, he can't drive anymore, but he's out of direct traffic and
Does it sit down?
oh yeah, he does have sitting down, but he directs traffic and gets the people where they're going. I had a man in this organization who's been in here for quite a few years. He's not with us today. He's at a nursing home. He's my mentor and one of the founding fathers of the EMS system for Rouse's Point. Since Calvin has got his television camera on, I'd like everybody to wave to him and say, "Hi, Leo. Have a nice day. We sure miss you." Hi, Leo. We miss you, buddy. He's, like I said, he's the one that taught me the EMS business. He told me to be sure that when a check comes into the department, that I get it. It goes into the rescue squad. And he's also the one that got me assistant chaplain. So I don't know whether I should thank you, Leo, but I do. And again, I'd like to thank all the fire personnel for their help with the EMS system this year and the ambulance. We did an outstanding job. We've got letters from people we've took to the hospital, and all of them has nothing but good words to say to us. And let's keep up the good work. We have a good reputation, and we want to keep it. Thank you.
Thank you, George, for those kind words. Next, I'd like to ask our president, Mr. Alan Autel, to come up and give our service year awards, please.